Yeah, what if?
And we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Fans of Power podcast. I'm Tyler Baker, and of course, with me as always is the VIP of the MOC, Dr. Joe Amato. Joe, we doing all right this evening?
Yeah, yeah, kind of. Just a little annoyed at just something I seen online. It was last night to today. There's one of those new money supermarket commercials with Skeletor, and now it's Skeletor and He-Man, and it just annoys me. I just okay, I can see the humor in things. Don't get me wrong, because I know some people say, "Hey, well, at least there's some exposure for Masters. That's good." But what I'm tired of is all this exposure that's in a silly, mocking way that is always putting, to me, bad light on Masters of the Universe, especially when there's no new cartoon, there's no new movie, and then this is what we get. We get He-Man going into a bar. It almost like started off like Terminator 2 or something. And you thought, okay, this could be serious. And then him and Skeletor proceed to do a dirty dancing routine, the thing from the end. And I was like, huh? I mean, I didn't even find it funny. I just find it annoying. It's like, oh, okay, you're having that nice moment that they were supposed to have at the end of Dirty Dancing. It's like, and Skeletor and He-Man are doing this? And it just only leads to just, as you see, a lot of comments. You know what's coming, but all those comments started popping up on Facebook. And I don't know. I just think it's like a disrespect. It's like, why is it the only time we get something for He-Man or Skeletor in any type of media is a mocking thing? Now it's like, God, could you try to do something cool with it? I mean, if you're going to do something with with the property that's not around anymore, at least give something kind of fun, energizing, really entertaining to where people are like, hey, yeah, I'd love to hit He-Man back. But this is just, it's like slapping us in the face. At least that's me. For people who love it, more power to you. I'm not saying you're wrong. You can like it. But I just find it insulting. That annoyed me. I don't know if you've seen it. Did you see this stupid thing?
No, the minute I see something pops up with He-Man, Skeletor, and Dirty Dancing in the same post, I might as well. I would just love to just launch 1,000 arrows, unleash a bunch of hungry cannibals on that post, and just destroy it, tear it apart. I do not want. I know I didn't watch it because those are two things that do not go together. He-Man and Dirty Dancing do not go together. So no, there's no way in hell I'm watching this commercial for a supermarket that shows Skeletor and He-Man dancing together, probably in a less than masculine manner, which I
And
don't
it
want to
was.
see Skeletor dancing. Period. Let alone Dirty Dancing style. So
Yeah. And
and
they
you
even
know,
do the lift at the end. It's just like I said, such a mockery. It annoys me. It's such a
well,
mockery that
anytime it's and currently probably within the last maybe 10, maybe even 15 years. Well, no, not 15 because I think it was 15 years ago. The 2000X cartoon was 2002. Yeah, I think about 15 years ago. The 2000. So probably within the last 10 or less years, He-Man's depicted it in social media, as a feminine character. Like they had to make fun of the Prince Adam look, or the fact that He-Man is, got a loincloth on is somehow a questionable outfit for a barbarian character. It's almost as if like people today in their early 20s and teens who come across this, they think of this character is this very feminine guy with a tan or light skin wearing a pink jacket. And it's like they're oblivious to what sword and sorcery and barbarian, entertainment was in the 80s. Like they're not aware of Conan the Barbarian played by Arnold.
right.
They're not aware of any of the sword and sorcery films of the 80s or the Conan books, the Frank Frazetta paintings. None of that stuff. All they see is some jerk off decide to put a video of Prince Adam laughing multiple
I
times.
hate
It
that
gets
one too.
billions of views. And I'm like, why the hell is this funny? Because you're saying that He-Man is acting all feminine and stuff like that. It's not cool. I don't like it. And this is not us saying that He-Man being called gay in these videos is saying being gay is bad. That's not what we're saying.
Oh, not at all.
Saying
The way I'll back that
this
up.
character is being portrayed publicly in a it's not doing the character any service. You're making a joke of this character.
Right, Tyler,
It's
real quick. And that's what, like I said, and what you just said there, you're right. We are not in any way saying that's bad. And here's a perfect example. One of the first comments when I made the post about, did you see the video, which I said nothing about, hey, like they're making it look like He-Man's gay. I didn't even say that. But would you believe the first person that made a comment about not liking He-Man being portrayed because he felt like he looked like he was being portrayed gay was from somebody that is gay? That was somebody on Facebook, and this is somebody that's openly gay. It's not
Well,
like he
yeah,
hides it.
but we're comfortable enough here in this day and age. This whole like, oh, I'm offended because that's what you're saying. No, none of that BS is going on here.
Exactly. So he even,
Yeah,
like
we're
he
just
said it.
it's not doing any favors to Master of the Universe in general. It's not doing any favors to toy executives or people who are into animation who see commercials like this or see He-Man portrayed in such a manner on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and they see He-Man. Oh, I remember He-Man. Boy, they're portraying him as this dainty, feminine character. I thought he was kind of a cool barbarian character. Is that what he is today? Well, shoot, I don't want to do a new comic book. I don't want to do a new animated series. Everyone thinks he's just walking around with a basket of
Yeah,
flowers all
because
the time.
like here's the comment. Here's the comment that the gentleman made. He said, it opens the door for the same old He-Man is gay nonsense. He said, yes, it's funny, but at the same time sad with how they have done it, as in a way it's poking fun at the LGBT community. He says, might have been different if Skeletor danced with Eva Lynn or He-Man with Tila, but he found it insulting himself. He doesn't like it, he says, because he, and then somebody said, what's wrong with He-Man being gay? And the guy said, nothing if he actually was gay, but he isn't. He says, I'm gay and I know he isn't. But the point is the mockery of how they are making Masters of the Universe look. That's the point. What he just said there. The mockery of how it's making Masters look. I mean, why is it He-Man gets this treatment? But like you were just referring to Conan, I have never heard, at least me, I never heard Conan getting all this mockery, but He-Man gets it. It's so annoying. I just wish they would stop with these stupid commercials, do something different. If they want to do something silly and a dancing thing, I was like, hey, why don't you do a house party thing to where it's like kid and play? Maybe He-Man and Skeletor would do a dance-off against Tila and Eva Lynn. At least then it's something funny, and it's a cool little thing that at least, hey, I can laugh at this.
I don't want to see He-Man and Skeletor dancing, period. I want to see those
Well,
guys
I meant if they're to do something for these commercials.
at each other, trying to kill each other. I do not want to see them in anything less than that.
No, I understand, but I'm saying if they're to do some type of dance routine, at least have something entertaining, funny. The thing I watched, I was like, I couldn't laugh. I mean, it was just silly. It just was not funny. It was just
that dumbass skit that they did on Saturday Night Live. I don't know, maybe it was like a year or so ago.
With Lion-O and He-Man.
That was one of the dumbest things. I thought, who the hell thought this was a cute idea? It wasn't
another
fun.
insult, right?
Oh, I just want to slap the hell out of the writer of that skit, and there were all the actors that were portraying all the characters in that skit. It was one of the dumbest things Saturday Night Live's ever done in their entire span of skits and comedy. For, since its first episode. I mean, it was just so. I would just felt so pissed because, like, God, some jerk off thought this was funny.
Yeah, that's.
And
I mean,
it wasn't funny.
That's all we get. That is all we get are these nonstop, one after another mockeries of Masters of the Universe. So, like you said, if you're somebody in Hollywood that maybe doesn't know about Masters too well, and somebody bring this up to you, they're like, "Oh, isn't that what was being mocked on Saturday Night Live and in those commercials for the Money Market and here and there?" It's like that's all you get. Why would you want to take it seriously when nobody else does?
Yeah, and I feel the same thing about superheroes. Also, I don't like to see superheroes portrayed in a less than favorable manner. Whether they're characters that are just kind of lighthearted or they're bad to the bone. Like I don't want to see the Punisher portrayed in anything less than how he's portrayed. I don't want to see Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Ghost Rider, and so on and so forth portrayed. I mean, do people want to see Wonder Woman, depicted in anything less than the ultimate female ass kicker that she is? No,
yeah, exactly.
So why should He-Man fans have to settle? Oh, and like you said, there's always people who pop up when people are upset with how He-Man or She-Ra are being portrayed in a particular manner publicly. Someone always has to chime in and say, "Well, we got to be thankful for what we get, because we're so desperate to get something." And you know what? You're not a fan. You're a tool. You have no business trying to support this if you're going to sit there and settle for just anything. Because you know what? We are, Star Wars fans, Star Trek, Marvel fans, DC fans, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers. They are no better than we are. They deserve quality just like we do. And why should we have to settle? Their voices are heard, loud and clear. He-Man fans should be just as vocal, too, if we don't like the way He-Man, Skeletor, and She-Ra are being portrayed.
Right. I'd rather have nothing for commercials than this nonsense. So just had to get out of the way. And in the chat room, we have Captain Chronic, and he says, it's disrespectful. He said, I saw the title, and he passed on it. but he did say, he said, yeah, the house party thing. He said that would be funny. So good man. See, at least you're gonna do something. Have something be funny, I guess.
No, because then
But
he might have the kid's hairdo, all afroed out there and everything
I
like that.
like it. I like that though. The little back and forth, and then Tila and Evelyn, and then Skeletor and He-Man. So, well, God, I shouldn't even put these ideas out there. So yeah,
Not hell in this day and age, some idiot would decide I'm gonna do a spoof if you got served with He-Man characters instead, and then I'd really hit the fan.
well, there, just had to get out of the way. Again, if anybody out there, you love the commercial, it's fine, love it. But as for me, could not stand it. I hated it, absolutely hated it.
No, and don't share it to Joe. Don't share it to me. You
Oh,
know,
it's been shared almost, and I'm
no,
not
I
exaggerating,
don't.
30.
Don't if they watch this and they're like, hey, they like He-Man, I'll send it to them and see what they think. No, do not send it to either one of us. If they
I have got it
this
30.
cool witty video of them dancing. Oh, it's so funny.
I'm not joking. I had it 30 times shared to me, and I for everybody I like said appreciate it, but then I just hit it from my timeline because it would have been just loaded with all that video all the way down out. And
I was like that, where I'm so glad that you're a lot more well known than I am. I didn't have to worry about that bullet being thrown at me. Good grief.
yeah, and oh, by the way, we got Jeff Foster. He's in the chat room, and he said it sucked. It sucked. So good man. So basically, everybody in the chat room so far, they said they think it sucks just like we do.
So they're
So,
saying, directors of that commercial, the people who greenlit it, take it and shove it up your ass. That's what we're saying.
there you go. So, well, we had a couple topics today, but I just
And
remembered one.
just before Joe
Okay.
decided to steamroll over the opportunity for me to do a shout out here.
Oh, go ahead. Shout out all you want. Okay, you're done. No, go ahead.
I had said last week that if anybody could guess last week's movie quote, I would, I would acknowledge them and promote the hell out of them
Who
on
got
this
it?
episode. And oddly enough, before I even started promoting last week's episode, I got an immediate answer for that quote. And I thought, how the hell did this guy get it so fast? So Mr. John Perryman got it, and it was Quick and the Dead. And Gene Hackman is the guy who said that quote. And it came in so fast, like I'm picturing John was just like, that's Quick and the Dead. Just kind of nice.
Like nothing.
Sitting with a nice cool drink, looking at like a latest issue of, Playboy or Pen.
And I've seen that movie, but I guess I don't remember every quote. But what was the quote again? How was it?
Oh, it says, like, how do you feel? I'm nervous. It takes a lot to scare me. I love the sensation.
Oh, was that when? Hold on, let me think. Was that when he was being threatened with the gun with Sharon Stone across the table? Or no?
No. This is when him and Russell Crowe are facing off in the final round of the gunfighting tournament.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I was trying to remember, but okay, all right. Well, yeah, I watched that movie. That is good that he got it, but yeah, I would have never.
Heavily, I was so proud that John got that as fast as he did, but I was also shocked. I'm like, I don't hear people, at least in my circle, you don't hear, Westerns that get mentioned, it's always like some of the spaghetti Westerns and, of course, Tombstone because it's a classic. But
that was a good movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah, it's a kick-ass movie. A lot of great actors in it. But, John Perriman, you are this week's fan of power for getting that quote correct.
Yeah, congratulations. He's a better man than me. So, but, all right, well, before we get into the two topics, last week, Paul Rudman, remember, he presented us a topic to talk about. Now, this one, I guess we won't have a judge to be debating or anything, but he says if the Snake Men were to appear in the Filmation cartoon back then, and let's say you had both He-Man still going and She-Ra going, both those cartoons going, he said, where would you think the Snake Men would fit better? Which cartoon? So, if you want, you can go first or I can go first. It don't matter, but
You go ahead and hit it first.
all right, me? Okay, honestly, I was debating this back and forth. I was thinking, you know what? It could be cool if, let's say they were on Etheria and then they had to get back Ratlore and Tongue Lasher to join them, even though it's a different Tongue Lasher. But I was like, you know what? I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Hordak is just, that's Hordak, the ruthless horde on Etheria. I just think that he dominates there. And I think it would make such a cool element to bring King Hiss and have him, since he was part of, especially from the mini comics, he was part of Preternia. He was back in the Preternia times. It'd be great to see him rise again, not just to say, oh, because it was done in MYP. It would have happened probably anyways back then if Filmation was still going. But I would have loved to have seen maybe flashbacks of Preternia times. Maybe they would have gave us some cool stuff with Hero. That would have been nice if he could have been implemented in flashbacks. But to have King Hiss then rise up again in this time, and then he would be trying to take the power away from like Skeletor as the main baddie on Eternia, which then would just have that big triangle thing of He-Man, Skeletor, King Hiss, all kind of going at each other's throats. I think he would be better served the Snake Men being on Eternia, especially if then maybe there would be an episode they'd have to get maybe travel to Etheria. There could be some crossover episodes, but to go to get Ratlord to come back to join them. But I would feel like that other Tongue Lasher, maybe he was an imposter. Maybe he's somebody that heard of the legends of Tongue Lasher and he wanted to take on that name and moniker. But then the real Tongue Lasher would show up from the Snake Men, which could have them go at it too at some point. But I still think, yes, on Eternia. That's my thought, but I'd love to see him on Eternia, especially with flashbacks and Hero.
Definitely on Eternia, because I would love to see King is introduced, and then him and Skeletor are still residing in Snake Mountain, and it's like a Cobra Commander Destro kind of relationship where they are teaming up, but they don't trust each other. They're constantly looking for a way to either, you know what, I could use this to my advantage. I will follow through with Skeletor's scheme here, and then I'll, cut them off at the legs, and vice versa. But
Right.
even though at the end of the day, they find out that they're plotting against each other or they're playing botch, they blame each other. They're constantly bickering bad guys, but you still love them. Like they still work together, like they're portrayed in the mini comics, with the ultimate goal of killing off the other. That's what
Yeah.
I would see, because
So,
I really
yeah.
like that team up and that camaraderie of these two villains who work together, but definitely will stab each other in the back like heels do. And I just thought that was such a great thing that they kept going through. I mean, most of them, from Snake Attack, King of the Snake Men, Revenge of the Snake Men, The Ultimate Battleground. I mean, it was just, I really enjoyed that immensely. And that's what and I think, Alan Oppenheimer's portrayal of Skeletor, you know, this isn't a perfect world here, as if Filmation didn't take the big nosedive and start catering to the bitching parents who were saying it was promoting devil worship and witchcraft
Right.
and
Right.
nonsense. That the tone still stays straight. That Skeletor is a real evil prick, but very likable too, just like Cobra Commander and Destro are as
Could
well.
you picture that? Could you picture if it still had some of the evil feeling tones from season one? But you're right, the times Skeletor and King Hiss
And
would
it's
team up, but also
that's
times
what
where
we
they're against
came
each
and
other, you know?
to decide to put together some snippets of a more serious take on ideas like that. Rattler and Tongue Lasher and Snake Mountain. Like that conversation in Snake Attack when they're talking about how they're going to take down He-Man and say they're going to do it for King Hiss. Skeletor overhears it and says, "You can gladly do it." You can see Skeletor sitting in his bone throne, tapping his fingers. You know, King Hiss has returned to the swamps, but you can kill He-Man for me. And I just would love to see that in Filmation, to see that done, where Skeletor's like, either we'll see the last of He-Man or we'll see the last of you. I mean, I could see all of that done in Filmation. Oh, it would make my nipples so hard.
Well, there you go. Well, like I said, I mean, we'll picture, like I said, there's times they team up because you know that it's bound to happen, but then times they would be against each other. And also, how great would it have been if you would finally see the rise of the three towers, see that actually come into the cartoon. And then
Yeah.
that's when King Hiss really is trying to take control because he remembers about the three towers. And maybe those are times where he might have episodes where he's dominating Skeletor. So it can just bring a lot of cool elements. But I love that question, Paul. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fantastic question, and it does. It gets your wheels turning of, what could have been. It wouldn't have been probably like how Tyler and I would have loved for it to be, but still would have been cool if they could have popped
No,
up.
and like we've said before, we probably would have got something that we're probably not, the most happy to get, just because of that direction they were taking. Even though there's some good episodes in both, uh, you know, damn it, lost my train of thought here. It just feels like it was kind of inevitable that maybe it's best a lot of these characters dodged the bullet of being portrayed in the second season, because Stinkor probably would have been portrayed very poorly. Rio Blast, it's hard to say. I'm sure they probably would have really amped up the what in tarnation kind of mentality, and it's hard to say. Not
It
that we
is.
would all be, I don't think it would be as bad as like Spike or and
Oh,
that kind of
Spy Core was pretty horrible. That
yeah.
was pretty bad. And real quick, I was gonna say in the chat room also, Captain Chronic said Snake Men belong in Eternia. Good, that's definitely. And Jeff Foster, he said, meanwhile, He-Man was satanic, but the Smurfs lived in shrooms and had a male witch in the cartoon. So, yeah, well, there you go. I guess, yeah. The Smurfs did have Gargamel, an evil kind of sorcerer witch, but well, I guess they're too cutesy to already then be
I
considered.
just it makes you want to stop and wonder, like how like if these parents are like where are they going by when they're when back in the 80s when these are they looking at the toys or are they sitting down with their kids watching this cartoon from beginning to end, ignoring the moral at the end of the story, ignoring the fact that He-Man sends Skeletor back to Snake Mountain with his butt in his hands, evil doesn't win, good triumphs,
Yeah, I
and get
couldn't
somehow
picture.
telling my child that he needs to go outside and start, you know, drawing symbols and circles in the dirt and making little stick figures and trying to summon something from the seventh level of hell.
That's what I mean. It's never happened. I never did it. None of
I
my
don't
friends did it.
understand, the lot even from if they it's like we're not they're not in the age of information, not everything's out, just from a visual standpoint of watching one of these episodes, even Damar the Demon, which is called Damar the Demon. You watch it from beginning to end, it ends with a rainbow and the demon saying, you know what, the hell with this, I'm not going to do what I'm destined to do, I'm going to, give up that life and pursue something a little less uh, uh, dark and dreadful.
Casual glancers. That's what they are.
Yeah,
Casual glancers. They see
they
a
go
piece and
Netflix
then
and
just make an
time to watch
assumption.
stuff. They're bored.
Yeah, they just make an assumption. That's what I mean. People that have nothing better to do, they just catch a glance. They say, hey, I know what this is about. Bam. And there's an opinion. It's just like back in the days when they started the ratings for video games. And the people that were starting all that said, Sega made a horrible game called Mortal Kombat. I'm like, well, first of all, if you know what's going on, it wasn't Sega, it was Midway. But they immediately jumped on Sega. They jumped on Night Trap for the Sega CD saying the girls are running around naked when they're not. They had like 90s long shirts. You've seen worse in commercials with women in bikinis than you did that. But remember, these are the people that know everything. So yeah, that's what we put up with. So Paul, thank you for that question, and it
Yes.
led to a good rant we got going. But now it's time for Tyler to start off with, and I think you might as well hit it with a very talking about evil. Let's get to somebody that maybe is kind of evil and freaked us out as a kid from the cartoon. Go ahead.
Oh boy. Originally, I had suggested doing a recap of the one shot villains, and we mentioned Shokoti, and Joe just said, like, we really just could just sit and talk about her like a great deal, and obviously yes we could. So Shokoti is going to be our character buyer this week. We've never really done one
One shot villain.
on a one shot villain. Like we did Sauron, but he was in the movie, didn't have a whole lot. But I feel like that's a little bit different. He's an evil warrior, whereas this is a one shot character, and
And plus, he was in the comic too, so there was differences. That's
yeah,
why we were comparing. Yeah.
whereas this character was just given one episode in a 2-part storyline, and but she's such a celebrity, and we'll discuss more about her on Halloween, of course. But
Oh yeah.
just discussing what makes this character such a legendary fan favorite amongst fans. Um, and I mean, I guess it has to start with childhood because everybody who watched the cartoon and saw that, I, I I haven't seen people post that I didn't think it was scary at all. That it was stupid, or anything like that.
Yeah, I've
Everybody
never
thinks
heard.
universally she is celebrated as the scariest character.
Scariest, sexiest, almost witch that's in the
Yeah,
cartoon, you could say.
I to me she was very reminiscent of when I looked at the VHS covers of the Howling 2 and Fright Night 2, which the Howling 2 had this attractive looking tan skinned woman with these red lips and these sharp fangs and sunglasses on. Fright Night 2 has got this eyes and pouty red lips and these fangs. Always made me think of Shokoti when I would see those movie boxes in the video store, just because it was like an attractive woman with these fangs, and I thought maybe she's like a vampire. I don't know what she was, but
Mhm.
she definitely really scared the hell out of me as a kid. It was something I pushed myself to rent, is trying to make the cycle through all the VHS tapes that were available, and I would force myself to rent it and dreaded every moment of that episode, from her laugh, the tentacles coming out and grabbing Stanley and everything like that. She was just such a, I mean, just very, very frightening character. And I didn't actually see the episode again until I was in the 11th grade, I think. And I got the series on bootleg and watched it for the first time. Since gosh, probably I was 4 or 5 years old. I never rented it in high school and in my elementary school and middle school years. I rented all the other tapes except that one for whatever reason. I was like, I'm not going to go back and. I was like, man, this is a damn good episode. And she is just a phenomenal character, and she's and what we're going to get into is just the stuff that you kind of hear about her and throughout the episode, and a little bit more from a deleted scene as well. But I feel like I rambled so much in introducing this character here. You get going here on your thoughts on her.
Yeah, because we definitely didn't get enough of her. I mean, she was part of the first ever two-part episode for, I mean, the only two-part episode of Masters of the Universe. And seeing her, I was hoping that she would, I almost knocked my mask off. I was hoping she would have appeared more. We didn't get more.
Yo, not your mask off, Mask. Lord Mask.
Yeah, exactly, Lord Mask. But from what we got, I mean, from that her raspy kind of voice, and like, boy, when she'd call her Stanley. I mean, first she had just a
You know what? For Halloween, when we watch this commentary, let's make sure we do it with the lights off, just for the commentary.
I guess so. We won't be able to see us much. But no, it was, like I said, her voice was creepy. I always sound creepy about characters that sometimes you thought of as ghosts. Because when I first seen it, and of course Rayman's there, and hearing, the name of Shokoti and all that, and then just like, you seen the door, and I think the eyes lit up. Didn't her eyes light up on the big giant door,
yeah,
or no?
Her face that was kind of like built into the entrance that was sealed up. When she would laugh, the eyes would light up, and boy, that scared the hell out of me.
It did, and you know why?
Taran Man in that episode.
That's what I mean. I mean, just all these little moments of what she did just was so creepy. And just from that spot, and what that reminded me of, I'll be honest, when I was a kid, I couldn't put two and two together. But I remember I'd see that on reruns. And also, I remember seeing the Neverending Story. And do you remember the part where Atreyu had to go between those two Sphinx women?
Yeah.
And remember the eyes lighting up. And it was just, God, I hated that part. It creeped me out because I thought they were just going to wipe him out. That reminded me of the Neverending Story Sphinx women when she had the eyes light up on that door. So I always put a connection those two. I don't know which came first, but either way, I watched them both still as a kid. So, whatever. But then you get into the House of Shokoti. And you see her, like in a kind of like a ghostly form, then a physical form. But she, like, I think there was the part where her mouth opens to take, I don't know if it was He-Man, Ram-Man, or something, like this big set of lips. There was just something creepy about these big,
It's the Howling 2 cover. That mount,
the fangs.
Big red lips and those fangs. That's the Howling 2 cover, man. They're going into the mouth like, dear God, no, man. Even watching that, it was like nothing was safe. Like, not He-Man was safe. There was nothing about watching that episode made me feel like, oh, He-Man is here. I can kind of loosen up a little bit and realize it's not as tense. Like, no, nothing was safe to me in that episode. I mean,
no, because she had control of those crazy darklings that would, wrap them up.
What the hell are those things?
That's, the whole episode.
Big lips with fangs and like an eyeball sticking out over here and one over here. And
the whole episode itself was just creepy with her and all her creatures around her. But, like, as you've seen, it's like, she's kind of sexy. She's sexy, but she's scary sexy.
Yeah.
And so after the episode, and it's like I said, it sucked we didn't get more. It did make you wish that she could have reappeared. And then that's when we started doing ponderings. Like, this is why we're doing a character profile is, what could have been? What else was there about Shokoti that we didn't know? I mean, how could she have got her powers? How long has she existed on Eternia? Was she back in the times of, hypothetically, let's say, Preternia? How old and ancient, is Shokoti? That's things that you like to, I guess, sometimes just use your imagination to create your own little, I guess, thoughts and imagination. But didn't you say that James Eaton had something to where it said in the first episode of the House of Shokoti that there was like a deleted, there was a scene that didn't make it. It made it in storyboard format, but wasn't in the show.
Yeah, and if you check out James's He-Man official YouTube channel, you can see the storyboard put together with the proper music and everything. But for those who haven't seen it, it's in the first part, of House of Shokoti Part 1, where the sorceress tells He-Man 10 days ago a nomad came to the fortress in the sands and says he saw a pyramid rise up out of the desert. Well, that's what the opening sequence was originally storyboarded and scripted, and was probably pretty close to being done and animated, if not completely done and just cut and thrown on the floor at the towards the end of it. But
I wonder why, because we missed out on a good, maybe somewhat of a relationship, or at least a thing between her and Mask. A slight thing of at least
which
acknowledging.
and I felt like as a kid, I mean, it really, I mean, still, obviously, when you watch it, you still feel like that Mask essentially serves, like he is, kind of like her servant, so to speak. But he also comes off as somebody who is probably her equal. And then when I got older and saw that he's calling her his mistress,
yeah.
I like hear of mistress is like someone a guy sleeps with, when he's cheating on his wife or something like that, like frequently. So I mean, not that Larry D. Taylor wrote it, but the idea these two were sleeping together.
I know what you mean.
But it just sounds like as if
they could have been a couple.
This is like someone he has, kind of like an evil love for each other here, and she's obviously, a spirit, and he's freed himself, and he's going to make sure that no one touches the pyramid until I can manage to unleash her and bring her back to her physical form. But in this deleted sequence, you get an idea that she's waiting. And she says she's waiting or wants Mask to guard the pyramid until the moon is at its darkest. I believe is how the line goes, or something to that extent, which makes you feel like she's obviously what was going on in Eternia at that time was something that we're approaching some sort of an eclipse of some kind that would be strong enough to allow Shokoti's spirit to not only raise the pyramid up but allow her to take on her physical form. Because I think also in the script, we don't see it, but I think according to the Reverend Etalk, that supposedly, at least in the script, that is it turned out she's going to be nothing more than a ghost. Whereas in the episode, you see her and she clearly is a witch of some kind. She's playing tricks. She's using a lot of illusions, and she clearly is there in physical form. She's not,
right.
Something you can pass through. I mean,
she reminded me of, you say witch. I felt like a vampire witch, because we keep talking about her mouth and those fangs. Seeing those fangs, you immediately think like, God, would she bite you? Like what else is about her? Because not only with her, like, you're hearing that, she was going to be just kind of like a ghost or something, even though we've seen physical form. That's what I wondered, what else could have been planned for her and Mask, even though Mask gets, wiped out when his mask falls. He-Man, I think, uses a sword to break it, and then he just disappears like Obi-Wan Kenobi. But even from that, it's like, well, what was Mask? Was he some kind of spirit, or only just inhabited in this mask? What could have happened if she would have, like, came up, got her power? Let's say, would she be able to get out of the House of Shokoti? Is she trapped in the House of Shokoti? Did she want that to be her home? Was it like an imprisonment? That's why, man, it's like she's somebody I feel like deserves a lot of backstory, something interesting. And
I feel like Larry Jatelli is the only person on this planet that I would ever, ever, ever be interested in knowing what he had envisioned when coming up with these two characters. And when he's writing the script, because he wrote the second part first and had to go back and write the first part and bring in the Mask character. And it kind of makes you wonder, in his mind as he's writing, because he can only put in with so much stuff in these two scripts for two cartoon episodes. In his mind, how is he establishing the backstory? Because I mean, a lot of people who write this stuff and actors like Anthony DeLonge said, you come up with an idea of a backstory in your head when you're working with these characters here. It kind of makes you feel like that Larry had to have come up with something along those lines of tying these two together. In some form or fashion in a long time ago, because you get reference to Shokoti in the House of Shokoti Part 2 that Prince Adam says she was a wicked sorceress from the dark side of Eternia, which is the dark hemisphere where Skeletor is at. Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes you feel like, how long did she, remain on the dark hemisphere and then comes over to the light hemisphere, has a pyramid, erected in her, image, and it's like her sanctuary of evil and obviously human sacrifice, because that's what the sleeping beast is there for. Down in the House of Darkness, it's like you can imagine like these crazy, rituals, kind of like Temple of Doom stuff, where they take some poor peasant person and scare them to death and send them all through the house of darkness. Just, I mean, they're about ready to kill over. Take him to her throne room, tie him down, and have the sleepiness come up and just devour them right there as they're alive.
I
It
tell
just
you what, I mean, I just got an idea into my head because I'm just freaking out at the thoughts of it. You know how the mini comics we read, a lot of we always thought, man, they felt a little more serious and darker than the Filmation cartoon. Some of them. Man, just how cool would it have been back then if we would have got a Shokoti and Masked figure and they both came with a mini? Oh my God. I mean, especially about Keller, whoever drew them. God, they would have been nuts. And I tell you, that's something that could be a cool project. Beyond doing some, like how you're doing the one with Leech with Karsten and other things that are going to be done with Karsten, I think to have a little origin and then maybe even build upon story of Shokoti, Mask in mini comic form. Oh man, I think I'd lose it. I really would if that could be something that could come to fruition.
I would almost feel like that would, at least from my perspective, be sacrilege to try and come up with an origin for those characters. Because to me, unless Larry was decided to do it, it's like doing the backstory for the Predators and the aliens. I kind of feel like it's more fun to think about what it could be as opposed to, because I almost feel like when it's one of those things that lots of people think about, there's no way in hell you're going to make something that's going to appease a lot of what people thought.
Oh, no way. That never can happen. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
don't get me wrong. I would love to see something like that too, because it leaves so many questions. But it's also, I kind of feel like, there's been so many failed attempts to tell backstories to characters like Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, where the aliens come from, and all like the thing, like, John Carpenter's The Thing. I'd rather not know what arrived on that flying saucer when it crashed in the Antarctic.
Well, heck, even if,
I'd
like,
rather
let's say
just think about what could have been and what all happened
well,
the
that's what I
sweet
was going to
camp.
say. Even wouldn't even have to do like you wanted an origin, but I tell you what, it could still be fun for you to do something beyond of her coming back, Mask coming
I
back
would love
somehow.
to do a return of Shokoti and
We'll have to
Mask.
do that. We're going to spitball ideas. I think we can make this happen. This was a spur of the moment. We can make it happen. I want to say one quick thing to JSP in the chat room, which is your dude. That's the one that answered the trivia question. So that's him. This is John Perryman.
John Perryman.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I believe he's JSP. He said, "Scary and sexy." He said, "Sounds like the late Sherry Martel," and of course, referencing
Sherry.
wrestling, it's sensational
Love all
Sherry.
wrestling
So
references on Fans of Power.
exactly. So that's pretty cool because you remember her in wrestling. Yeah, she could be scary but sexy. So I like that quick little
Yeah,
reference. I had to give that a
as
shot.
a child, I thought she was ugly as sin, but as an adult, I'm like, dear God, man, Sherry Martel was pretty hot.
Yeah, well, you know how it is when you're a kid. Usually, when you see some
But you got
people when
Miss
they act
Elizabeth
ugly.
across the ring, supporting Hulk Hogan and Scary Sherry's with Macho Man. You're like, dude, man, how the hell do you pick anybody over Miss Elizabeth anyway?
Exactly, and how it was so believable because one was the villain, one was the good, and it
Yeah,
don't matter what somebody looked like when you're a villain. You could look very ugly. So, just I guess it all depends in wrestling. But well, Jesus, I don't know. Did you still want to expand on
well,
Shakoti? Because there's so
I
much.
wonder too, like, you kind of makes you wonder, is Shakoti one of those? I mean, you kind of get the vibe that she's an ancient character, and same thing with Mask. Like, they're two characters that have been around for, I mean, probably many centuries. Like they're legendary characters. Like, or almost like Mask is even more oblivious. Like Shakoti is apparently in books, in history books. Like obviously was written. I mean, enough to where Prince Adam makes the point that he knows of her,
And I feel
which
like they need each
like,
other. I mean, they both do. Not only she need him, but maybe there was a reason Mask was, with her. Maybe he needs her to get his human form back. Maybe his, like you've seen, his essence was trapped in this mask, and once it was destroyed, he was destroyed. Maybe he
maybe
was
it's
trying to.
like great punishment for Mask. Like she thought he was uh, not obedient, so she took his body and confined it in a mask, and that says, "I will allow you to live, but you will only live through this mask. It will grant you many powers, but this mask is destroyed. So are you." Like, I
Yeah,
mean, because when he's destroyed, like, he just becomes black smoke, and he's gone. He's doomed. I mean, that
maybe that
mask
could have been
never
a curse.
snapped.
Maybe that's a curse she put on him. It was like
Yeah, like
until you can
curse.
like
know?
erect, until you could like help me rise back and get to full power and get out of this, house, her house or something, and reign and rule, Eternia. Maybe he's trapped in that mask, like you said, and then once maybe they start gaining power, then she'll give him physical form back along with powers and more abilities. So yeah, maybe it's a curse she put on and a curse she can take off too, if he does
Or
her
a,
bidding.
or a curse that was placed upon him, and she decided to give him a mask for his loyalty, so he could continue to serve her and leave the pyramid and shape shift and pull all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a bunch of stuff you could play with.
Mask just entered the kind of character profile this week. I guess you got to put them together. They're just a double
Well,
character
well, no,
profile.
you could even do a Lord Maskman too, but it's like you can't.
But I feel like they mixed together. Like
together. But there's so much to Shokoti. I feel like though, just her whole House of Darkness itself. I mean, it is a haunted house. I mean, it's like this lady has got a giant rat creature running around, and then you don't know, you don't
hated
really
that
don't get
rat.
it's like a pest or a rodent in there. They're like this creature is living in this tomb, almost as if like it was probably put in there to eat people who maybe have got like prisoners who got loose and they're going to
Kind of
die.
like a guard dog. It's like a guard dog for Shokoti, maybe. Shokoti's
Yeah,
guard
yeah.
dog.
It's just, I mean, even though it's obviously probably written, it's just a throwaway scene. We have to have Stanley, be scared and running away from something.
That
But
rat scared me more
just,
than anything. That
oh,
rat, that
well,
rat
because
scared me.
you see it on VHS, it's not as super clear. Like I mean, clearly when he shines the flashlight on this kind of rat
I
monster,
hated that rat.
and then the light's not shining, he's running down the corridor, and the rodent's running after him.
Mm-hmm.
The VHS is not so clear, so you see this like kind of really dark, blurry image of this. What the hell is that thing? Just chasing me. He was going to eat him.
I told you, I remember being afraid of that more than anything because you can relate with a rat, and in real life terms, like, okay, even though she's scary and the sleeping beast was scary and so were the darklings, the thought of a giant rat freaks you out because I'm sure everybody at some point in their life have seen, wherever you're at, you've seen
Yeah,
a rat eating a mouse.
calling it a giant rat is like the best way to describe it. Even though if you look at it, it doesn't look like it doesn't have the face of a rat.
But it
looks
makes you think of one. I thought of one. Yeah.
makes you think like that close up shot when he turns around and sees it closing in. You see the close up of its face. It doesn't look like a rat, but from the side, it looks like a giant rodent. But that's the best way we can describe it is this giant man eating rat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's God, man. I love that episode so much. It's just not. There's I feel like there needs to be a lot more celebration for House of Cody, and even though
we're gonna have a commentary for Halloween. It's gonna be a good commentary when we do that.
I love that character so much, and I love to know more about her. But I think that's what makes her so much fun is that we don't know so much about her, which makes her so much fun to think about.
Yep, the mysterious always makes you wonder, what's, the origins, her beginnings, what else she could have done, everything.
And she clearly seems to really enjoy toying with, intruders. I mean, the way, like, she knows Stanley's in there. Or no, excuse me, I take that back. She clearly sees Stanley outside because Raymond fails to open up, the door and creates these tentacles to come grab this boy. And what's funny in that, not funny, but when Stanley reaches down and forgets about just trying to get in there, he's scared about Raymond. You see a tear on Stanley's face, like he's scared. And these tentacles come in, and she grabs him, and then he just evaporates into the fortress, and then she drops him off at some random place in the pyramid, and then toys with him. Uses this yellow glowing face that doesn't move. It just says, "Follow me." She's just messing with this boy, just scaring the shit out. Excuse me, gosh, I just let it slip out there. Sorry, kids. This is how worked up I am about it. It's the Freddy Krueger of Masters of the Universe. And this episode came out before Freddy Krueger came out in theaters. So this is 83, not 84 here. So it just, oh my gosh, it's just
it was
so
creepy.
great.
A very creepy episode that you'd love to watch, and especially sometimes when it's, like you said, if it was around Halloween time, who wouldn't want to pop this episode in now to watch it? But no, it's always one of the creepiest. Like I said, it's only two-parter, but there's very few episodes I remember back then of the other characters that really were memorable. Not saying the other one-shot characters weren't memorable, but some
Oh,
of
I'm
them.
sure, but I mean, and there were a few moments in He-Man and She-Ra that I found a bit frightening or like ooh, kind of off-putting, but not man. I'm getting dry throat here. Nothing to the extent. I mean, because Mask scared me as a kid too. I thought his voice was very creepy and his look was very creepy. But
She was a
Shokoti,
topper.
hmm?
Yeah, Shokoti was. Yeah, she's a topper. She Shokoti and Shigora, no pun intended with both ways they start. They're two of the ones that freak me out the most. And I know one that some people think is kind of silly, but also Mulcrum. Those were the three that just freaked me out because, I mean, two of them really kind of, you seen, showed powers where they almost bested He-Man. The other is so creepy, which is Shikoti, where she bests them and uses the Dark Lanes to like trap them. And anytime you see the hero, having issues and troubles with the villain, it's memorable. So yeah,
Well,
she's
and
still.
it makes it so much exciting because this is a villain that He-Man has not. I mean, you have Dark Dream, you have a variety of other, you know, out there and memorable one-shot villain stuff like that. But there's something so much more. It feels like there's so much more at stake, at least with what He-Man's going up against in this episode. When Sandlin is abducted into the pyramid, and He-Man, Adam, and Cringer standing up on the cliff of the sand and see it all taking place. The
Everything.
transformation kicks in, as we said before. It just seems this is different than He-Man coming to the aid of someone's being attacked by Cobra Khan or uh, a transport's being flipped over and He-Man's trying to save this little girl before it
Yeah,
completely falls on or
yeah, it's
something
a
like that.
major. He's against a major threat, not only her
Yeah,
but also in her house of Shikoti, the whole
yeah.
place
This
itself.
it just the fact that when you're watching this is a frightening character and you hadn't even seen her yet. All you've done is just heard about this character being built up for an entire episode, and in the beginning of the second episode, you still haven't even seen what this woman looks like in person, and yet you just feel like okay, this is different. This is bigger than any attack on Snake Mountain or attack on Castle Grayskull or anything like this. This is balls to the wall, scare your ass to death stuff here, man. And He-Man's going to go in there and kick this woman's ass, at least you think. And then he ends up getting, get ready to be sacrificed. Oh,
Right, right. So very, like I said, we had to cover her. She's such a memorable one-shot character who definitely should have had some more exposure, one way or another. She should have had some more.
such a shame.
But
But
what we
I'm
got was great.
sure he's aware that she is a very beloved character and that he is aware that fans told him, that it was a scary episode because that's the way he intended it. And I'm glad he knows that.
Yeah,
Oh God, I can't wait to Halloween.
exactly. All right, so well, that's our character profile on Shikoti and a little bit of Mask because, like I said, they're peanut butter and jelly. They go together. You have to talk about the other if you're talking about one, basically. So, all right, well, now we'll finish out with something a little more lighthearted, a little something different, and it's a mini comic that many people don't talk about, and that's the fastest draw in the universe with our buddy Rio Blast. And of course, unfortunately, this is where some people want to say, okay, why is a cowboy on Eternia? And, you know, when you're a kid, you're playing with these figures. I mean, I never sit there and at one time ever question, okay, this guy didn't belong. I just thought, wow, how cool is this guy? He has guns popping out over his head, out of his chest, out of his legs, his hands. He's just a living weapon. He's a living, machine of, just weapons. It's just, how could that not be cool when you're a kid just getting into this and just imagining all these battles that he's in? So in this mini comic, unfortunately, he does kind of talk. Yeah, he kind of does talk a little too Earth-like with, "Hey, partner," and gotta rustle up this and having references of barbecue sauce, and it's like, okay, now that did feel very earthy, even though like you hear his origins, like he's supposed to be from like another planet. He's a lawman from somewhere else, and they had some different origins in the UK, which were really cool. But this mini comic, it just felt like they were trying to put in a way, I mean, it felt like they put Earth on Eternia, even wrestling up cattle. Because the premise of this was kind of unique, meaning this is a story where Skeletor wants to try something different. He wants to try to get rid of the heroes in a different way. He wants to basically get rid of their food supply. And what better way than doing
The
that?
episode Island of Fear, which is a good episode that Skeletor tries that very same plan.
Yeah, so like I said, so seeing it in comic was, cool also because you get to see, okay, he's going to try to get the cattle to rustle them up to get him out of there, to scare him away, to crush the crops, and once the heroes are weak, then he could take advantage of them. So I liked the story itself was cool, and it was nice seeing Cobra Khan teaming up with out of all people in a mini comic Beastman, because Beastman, besides being in like the early Alcala comics and some other comics here and there, is just a little placeholder. You know,
Yeah.
it was cool seeing Beastman. Hey, he's in a story. He's with Cobra Khan, and they got to do this for Skeletor. So, but we'll go ahead. You can transition to some stuff. Like I said, it had a good intentions of this comic, but I just felt like too much Earth references for some reason kind of wrecked what could have been a even better comic.
Yeah, I mean, I had this as a kid, and it was not, and I didn't remember a single thing about it. Like when I got another Rio Blast Men on card, my dad had bought me a bunch of these from this toy store in Winchester, where the previous owners had sliced the back of the card enough to where you could slide the mini comic out and then put it right back in there.
Okay.
And Rio Blast was one that he got me that was like that. And I finally looked at that mini comic, like, wow, I don't remember this mini comic being like this. Like of course, I was 3 or 4 years, or probably 4 years old when I got Rio Blast, and obviously couldn't read, just looked at the pictures. But it was not a memorable mini comic to me as a kid. Not like Clash of Arms and Hordak and many of the others that I had too, like Secret Liquid of Life, Double Edged Sword, and so on and so forth. Um, but I mean, it's not a terrible one, but it just feels like, you know what, I don't think of Rio Blast when I look at the character as someone who speaks, the old buckaroo and tarnation this and dag gummit, man, we gonna get him, we gonna last me that chipmunk.
Yeah, it's just they should have, and they even
I,
had
I
Orko.
think that, you know what, just because he's a gunslinger doesn't make him, the stereotypical, cowboy lawman. I mean, if anything, he kind of comes off as just this guy who lives in the desert because that's where cowboys live. And granted, though, this is a mini comic meant for young children, and children, when they think of gunslingers and stuff, probably thinking of cowboys. So I can't fault them for portraying Rio Blast like that, because we have to remember this is not meant for people our age and older. This is meant for little guys.
They even
So
had Orko though, didn't Orko even like say Buckaroo,
Buckaroo,
Rustler? Like
yeah, I'm looking at it right here. Buckaroo at
yeah,
this
yeah,
very page here.
exactly, because he's like, huh? Like he doesn't even understand. Like, what are these words you're speaking of?
Well, I
Which
guess
almost
if you
makes
think about it, even in our terms, like buckaroo, like what the hell's a buckaroo? But it's something that you associate with, men of the Wild West. Chasing down trains and wagons and robbing them, and the guy with the sheriff's marshal or the marshal or the sheriff's badge is chasing them down and all that stuff. But I mean, it's cool to think. I mean, you could almost, and we could say this for a Real Blast character, by like Real Blast being the lawman, the kind of police officer, in a matter of words, for the royal palace. He is like Tila is the captain of the guard. I mean, having a lawman, a police officer running around, catching thieves and arresting Cobra Khan for stealing something. I mean, it's not silly. Or I know people probably come down on Rio Blast as like this a cowboy. I'm like, that's so stupid. And you're like,
and
no,
that's pretty much what he gets at. Say, what's a cowboy doing on Eternia? And again, I
well,
never.
look at him. I mean, he's not a flat out. He doesn't have a hat.
I
He
think it's
does have,
it's probably the
like,
mustache and the badge. I think that's it. It's just the typical mustache badge. And then this mini comic, if they read it, sure didn't help, the cause. But I just remember the
no,
figure. When I had the figure, I was like, in no way did I think he was corny. Like I said, I thought it
no,
was
no, no, no. I love the figure.
that's
Oh
what I mean.
my
The
god,
figure, I was like, this is
fantastic figure.
amazing. And especially then where He-Man, because, of course, product placement, that's when he gets to use the mega laser in
Hell,
there. So exactly. So they're all kind of working together with these crazy guns and blasting with lasers. And again, that's what kids, you got into any of that crazy stuff. And especially for the figure, just the figure looked amazing. But yeah, he got typecast, obviously. And I think, I'm just saying, well, he looks like he belongs from Earth. And this mini comic, I just wish they could have left out at least the vernacular and him speaking like that and him having a plate of, what's weird is I was like, okay, I thought it was gonna be like chili or something. It's like, but he said barbecue, so you're thinking, okay, it could be barbecue ribs, could be barbecue this. But I think he was like, "Hey, I got a pot of barbecue sauce." I'm like, "Who just drinks or eats barbecue sauce? Is that what he's saying?" Almost that's what he's saying. It's like, "Here, I got some." I can't remember. It was in one of those panels where he mentioned that.
Well, I'm trying to look.
Where was that? Where he mentioned something about like I can, yeah. He's like, "There, I
But
can make another pot of barbecue
that guy
sauce."
also made the best barbecue.
It was in the last panel. He says something like, "There's just another pot of barbecue sauce inside the wagon, just enough for the three of us." So I always thought, well, you just gonna drink that down? I'll admit though, I used to like drinking barbecue sauce, and I still do at times. And of
So did
course,
Wilford.
yeah, and so did Gwildor, so there's a good connection. And of course, that's what took out Cobra Khan in this issue. He falls back. See, He-Man gives him a good. At one point, I like when He-Man took that bucket. He took just a bucket and he whacked Beast Man, I think, across the face. And then when Cobra Khan tries to use his spitting, venom to knock him out, He-Man, I think, then just baps him in the jaw, knocks him into the barbecue sauce, and he takes off. And also, we're always speaking of new characters. You didn't get a good look at them, but you got to see the Lizard Men, and they're like these purplish kind of characters that have tails and like orange harness, and it looks like they're very scaly. I
Yeah.
think these would be cool looking, like little, again, army builders, because they served Cobra Khan, but they're lizard men. So if you guys have never seen this mini comic, and if you get the fastest draw in the universe, you could see at least some cool new characters. So I mean, it had its moments. It had, like I said, some good moments, but just maybe Real Blast's vernacular possibly could have spoiled it slightly, but if you liked it, still good. I mean, it didn't suck. It just, like I said, it didn't help his character, what people say about him.
No, I mean it's. I mean, you got all the key ingredients for a good mini comic. A unique team up with Cobra Khan and Beast Man.
I like that. Yeah.
Seeing Cobra Khan, because he is the evil master of snakes, and you can also kind of throw in slash reptiles. So it makes sense why he would control, kind of, weak-minded or kind of simpleton creatures like these lizard men.
Yeah.
They're just kind of mindless, warriors that could, probably just, you know, simple instructions, that kind of thing. And I mean, seeing Rio Blast, using all his weapons and getting to see the Mega Laser used very, very briefly, which
Yeah. Yeah.
another sensory that was, just like the Stilt Stalkers and the Jet Sled. I think Jet Sled got used a lot more than any of the other two.
The Jet Sled got a lot. I always mocked, even though I love the Stilt Stalkers, I used to always make fun of that. I was like, just sweep the leg.
Do, but there's just something that they just look cool. Like, yes, I guess it doesn't make much sense if you're in battle.
Sweep the legs. Just Karate Kid that. Oh God.
They just look cool. I'm like, I'm not the kind of person who likes to sit there and look for problems and jokes. And
as a kid, I'll admit, I did. You know what's
look like, oh man, I can rip this stuff for them.
I never flipped over them. I never flipped over those Stilt Stalkers as a kid. I think it's because I felt like my figures never got. Maybe I just never put them in right. I was like, man, I can't get these things to work like I want. Everything else was cool. I like that you could wind up the Mega Laser and it would go like it's shooting. I love that you could look like they were flying on the Jet Sled. But when it came to Stilt Stalkers, I was like, he looks like he has a black cosmic key on the side of the one leg, and that's all I ever thought of. I used to actually act like it was another cosmic key, as goofy as that sounds.
But I never had any of those accessories, and I only had the mini comics as my only, outlet for it, like the snake attack when He-Man's, saying, I got to get some Stilt Stalkers. I'll tell you about it on the way. And they're standing in the swamp, and there he is in the extend. I just thought it looked so cool. Same thing with the Mega Laser. Like the cover looks so cool with He-Man and Rio Blast on the cover, just blasting the hell out of, what could be anything on the cover. I mean, it's a very cool looking cover.
I gave, and I always kept it with them all whole time, was my Mega Laser went right to Man at Arms, because I've said this before, Man at Arms and maybe like Stratos, Zodak possibly, they were some of the least played with figures, because I was like, hey, there's this guy that just he does nothing. I know that, well, of course in the cartoon, yes, they had bigger roles, and in the mini comics, I was like, nah. But when that Mega Laser came, I was like, I can make Man at Arms look cool. And I kept it on and I twisted. And then he finally got to join in battles, because I really didn't play with him. He never was in the battles. I just always had Man at Arms off to the side for whatever reason. He never just was that exciting. But the Mega Laser made him exciting.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I played with Man at Arms a great deal, but I got so mad that he was in every episode of Filmation.
Oh, really?
And like you're saying, like whereas in the cartoon, Stratos and Man at Arms are playing big parts, in the show you play with his toys. I was the opposite, because I really wanted Stratos. I didn't get him until I think I was 6. and he was missing everything. And I was so glad to have Stratos and Man at Arms. Like he was a pivotal part. I got to use him in my playtime. I'm like, damn it, man! Why are you in every single episode? Where's Fisto? You know?
Yeah, you had like you said your different interpretations how you had everything introduced. So I love the different ways everybody's introduced something. But yeah, Man at Arms, Stratos, they just basically sat off to the side. Beast Man looked ferocious, even though he basically did nothing. Oh, and also Merman. Merman sat off the side, but I like Triclops. I was into all the features or something looking kind of cool, but that's another story. That's another episode. And real quick, JSP in the chat room said another thing that obviously made a Rio Blast feel earthy and look earthy. He said chaps and spurs. So yeah, I guess that can make sense. I mean, he did have the chaps. Did he have spurs on the toy? I'll be honest, I can't remember looking at the toy.
The toy itself, no, did not have spurs.
Okay, but he did in this, right? Did he? I can't even
No,
remember.
I'm looking at him right here. He doesn't have spurs.
Okay, well he's got chaps, but hey, I feel you, JSP. We know what you're saying.
Well, I mean, clearly that's what they're kind of going for, is a kind
yeah.
of cowboy-esque, but it's not. I felt like, I mean, looking back at it, we're looking as an adults, no, we don't need to see this character portrayed as a Southern lawman, so to speak. Like the everything from the mustache to the chaps, the sheriff's badge with like the kind of flap hanging down. I mean, it all looks cool. Like none of that needs to change. I mean, it's but then again, too, the character Sundown in the Cops cartoon. I mean, you got a kind of a cowboy character with all these futuristic cops running around. Like, I don't question that; it looked cool, but
yeah, right.
I kind of feel like here I like this character. I like Ray Blast a great deal. We'll do a character bio for him at some point as well. But this doesn't do him any favors. But he's a character that I feel like is definitely underappreciated, as there are many. I think a lot of casual He-Man fans don't look at Rio Blast as a exceptional character. It's like they only seem to go past maybe the 83 or 84 wave, and they'll remember the Horde or something, like maybe the Snake Man, but someone like Rio Blast gets tossed underneath the bed, and that doesn't fit. That doesn't
and
work.
The art, and I was gonna say the art isn't disgusting. It's a cool take on all these characters. It's different.
It's not the trap art, by any means. It's and I
It's
think
different.
did this guy
Mike Yalsberg. I don't know how many others he did, but I know he did.
I always thought it's. Let me just double check this because I'm using the big book here real quick just so I can.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, it's a different guy. I was thinking it was, but I had to remember this guy's skeleton was completely different. This one looks more reminiscent of Filmation, and then as opposed to Tom or Jim Mitchell, who did Eye of the Storm and Flying Fist of Power and so forth.
That's what I mean. It's a different art style, and I appreciate it.
His beat looks very Filmation too.
Did Mike Yalsberg do any other of the mini comics? I didn't know if he did.
I don't recognize his art style in any of the others.
Okay.
I mean,
like I said, from what I've seen, you could see different versions of He-Man, Orko.
Place. That's Jim Mitchell too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good one. Like I said, it's worth a read. If you haven't read it, read it.
It's not bad by any means. It just leaves a lot to be desired.
Right. Could have been better, but it wasn't horrific. It wasn't Leech and Mantana level. It's doable.
And just remember too, this was not meant for adults, guys.
No, none of it is. I mean, none of it
to go back and see a lot of these mini comics and appreciate them, as adults, like as great little fun reads with the beautiful artwork and good, simple stories. You're not every one of them is going to be the best, and I think that's what makes He-Man so good is that a lot of the stuff still stands the test of time, from the artwork to the stories to the dialogue.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, we're meant for adults. They're all for kids. But even as kids, there's certain ones that, would stick out as being weird. Like, I do remember when I first seen the Leech mini comic and read it, I was like, what is this? This just looks goofy, and it's just terrible.
I have no memory of that, and I got Leech for I think my 4th birthday.
It was one I didn't want to look at no more. It's some of them you'd look at, and you'd put off to the side. When I looked at that Leech one the first time, I was like, I'm not reading it again. The Mantana one, I was like, I'm not reading it again. They just did absolutely nothing for me. And then there's others like this. They get a quick little look. They're still kind of cool, but like I said, they're for kids.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think people can be. I know maybe we can be seen as being too hard on some of the stuff, but you kind of feel like some things that are done, I feel like deserve to be slapped around a bit because they didn't do anybody any favors, not even kids.
No, that's
Uh,
the fun thing about, like you said, doing the show now as an adult. Sure, you can critique, critique something. And yes, there are times that we can chew into something, but everybody does that. Everybody can chew into anything they want. I mean, it's a prerogative. So,
but I mean, for the most part, most of the mini comics that we got as He-Man fans, they were not bad ones. I mean,
no, no.
all the way up to '87. I mean, yeah, the Cosmic Key, you kind of felt like it was thrown together last minute, and that's
What was
probably
that? 5 pages? How many pages was that? 5 pages? Six? It
six
was.
pages. One, two, three, four, five, 6 pages. That's not including the front and back covers.
That was another one I never looked at again.
Six,
It's like,
six,
wow. Just when you start, it's over. It's like, oh, okay, that was it. It's like
yeah,
looking at the front cover, looking at the back. It's done.
yeah. It really makes you feel like that was thrown together in an afternoon because the Mattel executives are like, well, we need something to package with these throw something together real quick. We'll sell it on the movie and blah blah blah. And
Yeah, heck, you get more enjoyment looking at the card back for Sorod, Gwildor, and Blade, and just
yeah,
looking at the
those
art.
card backs, especially for Blaze, which it was burned into my head as a kid.
That's a
Just
story in
look
itself.
cool.
Yeah. That's what I mean. They're like stories themselves, just those card back arts, and you get more entertainment from that than you did the whole Cosmic Key mini comic because
Yeah.
it was lackluster.
So I mean, it's I think we're very fortunate that a lot of characters that are in comic books are not always written the best consistently, but I think for the most part, I mean, from the beginning, from '82 all the way to '87, we got a lot of solid comic books that were not sold in stores, just packed with these action figures, and I feel like you know what we're very fortunate to have He-Man written pretty consistently well for several years, and
Sure.
we're still celebrating these little stories even today. Not all of them are great, but like Leech, Cosmic Key, to name a couple there.
Yep, they
But
can't all be winners.
they can't all be winners, but we got a lot of winners.
We did. I completely agree. So, all right, well, that's our episode for all those things, all the topics. So, again, appreciate everybody in the chat room. And before we wrap it up, Tyler, you got anything for us?
I got a brief update from Carson. He sent me the two finished pages of the battle sequences from the Leech mini comic. He had a setback. He did not tell me what it was about. I didn't question it because it's probably due to personal business for whatever reason.
Okay.
And he apologized, for that being delayed. So everybody who's bought the mini comic, everything as far as it's still coming. I don't know what the setback was, but he's got to make sure he's going to get everybody who's pre-ordered it will get it first, and it will still be available to purchase once he's printed those copies. He still will be taking orders to make new ones as well. But I saw the finished inks for the battle sequence, and it was he tweaked a couple of things, but everything was still maintained. And what he tweaked were nice touches. But
Okay.
everything that I came up with is there and intact, and it looks really really good. The battle sequence at the end of the mini comic is like, oh wow, this looks really really cool.
Well, I
So,
don't like spoilers, but I have a question. Will, at some point in that mini comic, will diaper wearing Mossman make an appearance? Will the diaper be somewhere in that mini comic laying by a rock or anything?
I was told that I guess that's a possible variant cover for people who may want it. I guess if they want to see a diaper wearing Mossman on the cover. But no, Mossman is depicted in a very serious manner in this mini comic. There's nothing. Carson's point is that he wanted to make sure it felt like it was a mini comic that was sold back in 1985. But
Yeah.
we kept pushing for a much more. Yeah, it's not like hardcore super edge, He-Man, but it's definitely a hell of a lot more serious than what we got. So
Okay.
Mossman is portrayed very mature or
All
mature
right.
like in this. So no diaper wearing, but I think people who did buy it, I think they'll enjoy this particular take on it.
Okay. And for anybody that was wondering what I'm talking about, if you ever look at that horrible Leech mini comic, I always reference that if you look at Moss Man in some of the panels towards the end, it looks like he's wearing a diaper. It's horrendous, but
Yeah, like a
okay,
like a pair of like green Depends or something
it's
like that.
bad. But well, okay, well, thanks for that update. And okay, well, that's your side of it. I'll just do my side of it. I just want to say what I always say. You go to fantasofpower.com, go to popculturenetwork.com, go to he-manworld.com, and on Facebook, go to Masters of the Universe He-Man and She-Ra Ultimate Fan Group. All great places, all great people. So until next time, have a powerful today. What happened?
Yes. Before Joe officially signs off, before I sign off, we wanted to give people a heads up. We're going to be doing a new podcast.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, Joe and I are going to be doing
Additional one. Say additional.
an
So
additional podcast. Yeah, Fans of Power's not going anywhere, so people
right.
don't be hitting the panic button. We're not doing this anymore. No. We're going to be doing a new podcast, another podcast that's going to be covering movies, cartoons, a variety of other things. I know Joe definitely wants to touch on some old school video games, stuff like that as well. So that'd be like an all-encompassing kind of retro 80s, some 90s podcast, because even though everyone loves the 80s, but we really want to dig into in-depth discussions about lots of movies, lots of cartoons, fun classic video games and things like that. That me and Joe have had discussions for years privately about movies from, Arnold and Stallone, and
From
Joe
action
and
to
I
horror to everything. Yeah.
tons of horror movies. Joe and I have discussed Die Hard on numerous occasions, which is the Friday the 13th films, Nightmare on Elm Street, all that stuff.
Best of 80s into 90s. I mean, we'll be
80s and 90s. That's our goal. We're still working on the title for it and what day we'll record it on, but we've been given the green light to do this, so we want to give everyone a heads up. We'll have an additional podcast for you that we'll be doing at some point throughout. We're assuming it'll probably be weekly, like this one.
Yes.
But we still got to figure out the fine details and the title. But we'll be discussing all kinds of classic films, even though there's tons of podcasts out there that have covered horror movies and stuff.
It'll be from films to TV to video games. It's all some of the best 80s and 90s stuff that you can have from all sorts of pop culture and that type of stuff. So, yeah, we'll be hitting it all.
Yeah, the kind of in-depth stuff that we give you on He-Man, we're going to be doing that with, a variety of action movies and horror movies and classic cartoons of the 80s that don't get talked about enough, and discussing Final Fight and stuff like that, and in-depth details.
Even Married with Children TV show. I mean, we'll hit all sorts of things.
We can cover Miami Vice. We can cover
Living Color.
We can cover the Rambo films. We can cover Chuck Norris. We can cover
everything.
The Friday the 13th part. We could even do a commentary for Friday the 13th Part 3 and point out the lines that Joe can't remember.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yes.
All right. Well, there you go.
There's so much stuff. Joe and I have been discussing movies for years, just between the two of us, privately, and so many discussions, like late at night, talking movies left and right, talking He-Man and everything. I always wanted to do a big podcast that talked about this. Then we get to talking about cartoons and video games and stuff like that. And Joe knows more about video games than I do, so
we'll have a blast, and that'll be a perfect time for me to.
That. So it's coming. We're gonna work out the fine details on that, and everyone will know. We'll probably just post in the same avenues that we normally do to get the word out on that until and hopefully this podcast has legs as well. So
exactly. And real quick, JSP said great show this week. Captain Chronic jumped in and he's like, you talk about RoboCop, Die Hard, Predator. He's like, can't wait.
Oh yes, Predator, which will all be discussed, and a variety of Arnold's classics.
He said exactly. Said First Blood, and then of course when I said Married with Children, he said, oh my God, Peggy was hot, and then JSP jumped in.
She was hot.
Exactly, and JSP jumped in and said, here's the title, Fans of Retro. So. Yeah, we'll see what we can spin. That's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I do like the title, and we'll spin with some stuff.
Yeah, Joe and I will come up with a title between the two that we both can agree on. And,
but I do like your title. It is a good title, GSP.
Yeah, that's a good play on what we're currently doing. So
right, and
we hope everybody who's hearing this right now will tune in and be. Participate in the movie discussion, the cartoons, the TV shows, and all that stuff. We want everyone to join in and be just as much a part of it. Same thing with as we do with the He-Man podcast.
I'm sure they'll have memories of everything we mentioned, just like they do with this. So this will work perfect. And I wanted to mention something too. I forgot that this Tuesday, it's a yearly tradition that started, and you can find it on Facebook. There's a page called "Bring Your Manny Faces to Work Day."
Is that already a year? Gosh, I felt like it was yesterday.
It's always the day after Labor Day. So This Tuesday, you go there. It's the 7th annual one. They've been doing this for 7 years. You take a picture you take Manny Faces to work with you. Take a picture, and then you post it over there on their Facebook page. It's Bring Your Manny Faces to Work Day. But also, there's going to be a prize this year, and I'll be supplying the prize. It's going to be just a cool little It's going to be a chromed up vintage Manny faces. Real reflective, real cool, but I thought it'd be something as a cool prize. I'll be supplying the prize this year for the best photo. So there's a few people that do the voting on the best picture. So if you want, go to that page and definitely post up your pictures. Take a Manny faces. You take your vintage, you can take your classics, 2000X, whatever you want. Take your work with you. Do something cool, something fun. People will like sometimes will have them, like on a typewriter, working on a tire, with them at work. There's been some cool ones throughout the years, but it's been going 7 years strong. So I just
Cool.
wanted to shout that out. So, all right, again, well, you heard.
For you, Joe.
What's that?
Erica wants me to ask you, who were you pulling for in the FedEx game that's going on between Virginia Tech and West Virginia?
Huh?
Exactly. I knew that's the kind of answer.
Exactly.
A football game, and she wanted me to make sure when you record it, I want you to ask Joe who he wants to win the Virginia Tech West Virginia game. Like, he's not even going to know who they are.
The only sports that I ever watched when when I was really sports nuts, and I had to calm down because I got worked up. I used to get really worked up. Basketball was my main sport.
Yeah,
and
that's what we could do on the podcast too. Is what we could talk classic basketball and
oh,
wrestling.
we will, because when I used to be into the Bulls, I would go bananas. I was cussing, I was screaming, I got heated. That and boxing were my two main things. So yes, for now, yeah, okay, but all right. Well, so there.
Well, I got to give her an answer. She wants an answer. You pulling for Virginia Tech or West Virginia now?
Okay, hold on a second. Virginia Tech or West Virginia? Okay, Virginia Tech will be the cover, and what the hell's the other one?
West Virginia.
West Virginia will be the bottom. So yep, it's West Virginia. So there you go. That's who's gonna win.
Okay, Erica. Well, if you hear this, he's pulling for West Virginia tonight.
All right. And, well, either way, you heard everything I said. Thanks, guys, and have a powerful day.
Are you through, Mr. Wizard? Let me know if you find Jimmy Hoffa under the seat while you're at it.
Gonna have to leave that one for the fans too. Damn it, I don't know this. I'm starting to fail. But you know what? Let's leave it to the fans to do this.
Who's going to be next week's fan of power?
There you go. That's a good.
Yes, this quote next week. If it's John Perryman, so be it. He will have another trophy in his case for being a fan of power next week. But we'll find out next week if anybody got that.
All right, definitely. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.